prepared to stare, unveiling the shadows of fear on fear files.
The carriage wheels clattered over the rough cobblestone road, their rhythmic, almost mournful sound, the only noise to pierce the dense fog that enshrouded Brackenmoor. Eleanor Blackwood, seated inside the carriage, peered through the mist-covered window, her breath fogging the glass as she tried to discern the outlines of her new home. The village appeared to materialize out of the fog like a ghostly apparition, its narrow, winding streets and ancient, decaying buildings standing silent and foreboding. Eleanor felt a shiver crawl up her spine, and she pulled her woolen shawl tighter around her shoulders, seeking some comfort from the chill that seemed to seep into her very bones. Her journey to Brackenmoor had been long and arduous, a desperate escape from the memories of a life shattered by loss. Her husband, John, had been her rock, her anchor, and his sudden death had left her adrift in a sea of grief. She had come to Brackenmoor seeking solace, a place to rebuild her life away from the haunting reminders of her past. As the carriage drew to a stop, the driver, an elderly man with a face weathered by years of sea salt and wind, opened the door and offered his hand. "Welcome to Brackenmoor, Miss Blackwood," he said, his voice a gravelly whisper that seemed almost lost in the fog. Eleanor took his hand, stepping down onto the cobblestones, her boots echoing dully in the damp air. The village was eerily quiet, the fog muffling all sound and casting a pall over the scene. Eleanor glanced around, her eyes catching on the dark, gnarled shapes of trees that lined the narrow streets, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The buildings, too, seemed to lean inwards, their old stones and timbers groaning under the weight of years and secrets. "Miss Blackwood, over here!" A clear, young voice broke through the silence, and Eleanor turned to see a small group of children standing a little way off, their faces pale and eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and something else, something darker that she couldn't quite place. A girl with flaxen hair and a smattering of freckles across her nose stepped forward, her gaze fixed on Eleanor. "My name's Mary," she said. "We've been waiting for you." Eleanor smiled, though she felt a strange unease settle in her chest. "Hello, Mary. It's nice to meet you all. I'm looking forward to getting to know each of you." The children murmured amongst themselves, casting furtive glances at one another before turning their attention back to her. "You'll help us, won't you, Miss Blackwood?" Mary asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. "You'll make the whispers go away?" Eleanor's smile faltered. "Whispers? What do you mean, Mary?" But before the girl could answer, a tall figure emerged from the fog, his presence commanding and his eyes sharp and assessing. "Ah, Miss Blackwood, I presume," he said, his voice smooth and authoritative. "I am Reverend Silas Thorne. Welcome to Brackenmoor." Eleanor extended her hand, feeling the chill of his skin as he clasped it briefly. "Thank you, Reverend Thorne. The children were just telling me about whispers." The Reverend's smile tightened. "Children's tales, Miss Blackwood. Nothing to concern yourself with. They have vivid imaginations, especially in a place such as this." He looked at the children, his gaze stern. "Run along now, and let Miss Blackwood settle in." The children scattered, their whispers fading into the fog. Eleanor watched them go, her heart heavy with a sense of foreboding. She turned back to Reverend Thorne, who was studying her intently. "If you need anything, Miss Blackwood, do not hesitate to ask. The village is at your disposal." "Thank you, Reverend," Eleanor replied, though she felt anything but reassured. As he walked away, disappearing into the fog, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly amiss in Brackenmoor. Eleanor made her way to the small cottage that had been arranged for her. It stood at the edge of the village, its stone walls and thatched roof cloaked in moss and ivy. The interior was quaint, with a hearth that promised warmth and comfort, though the air inside was cold and still, as if the house had been waiting in silence for far too long. She set about unpacking her belongings, trying to ignore the oppressive quiet and the sense of being watched. Night fell quickly in Brackenmoor, the fog thickening and the darkness closing in. Eleanor lit a fire in the hearth, the flames casting flickering shadows on the walls. She sat by the fire trying to read, but the whispers from earlier echoed in her mind, their sinister undertone chilling her more than the cold air ever could. A sudden knock at the door startled her, and she rose, her heart pounding. She opened the door to find Mary standing there, her face pale and eyes wide with fear. "Miss Blackwood, please? Can I come in?" she begged. Eleanor stepped aside, letting the girl in. "Mary, what's wrong?" "The whispers," Mary said, her voice trembling. "They're louder tonight. They're saying things, terrible things." Eleanor knelt beside her, taking her cold hands in hers. "Mary, I need you to tell me everything. What are these whispers? Where do they come from?" Mary's eyes filled with tears. "They come from the fog. They say they're the voices of those who were lost, those who were taken. They want us to join them." A chill ran down Eleanor's spine. "Who was taken, Mary?" "Long ago, the villagers made a pact with something dark and evil. They sacrificed the innocent to keep the village safe. The whispers are the voices of the sacrificed, calling for us to join them." Eleanor's mind raced, the pieces of the puzzle beginning to fall into place. She hugged Mary tightly, determination hardening within her. "Don't worry, Mary. I'll find a way to stop this. I promise." As the fire crackled and the fog pressed against the windows, Eleanor knew that her search for peace had led her into the heart of darkness. But she was resolved to uncover the secrets of Brackenmoor and protect the children from the malevolent forces that lurked within the fog. Thank you for braving the unknown with us. Until next time, stay haunted.